High Sierra 4x4 Podcast, episode 225.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Artec Industries. If you want to break the mold on what has been done, redefine what performance is, and add a level of design never before seen, go to artecindustries.com.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the High Sierra 4x4 Podcast. This is the best off-road podcast on the internet, and I'm your host, Greg Bakken. And hanging out with me today is the Micro Machine Forest, and we are here to share our passion for the off-roading world with you. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another wonderful episode of the High Sierra 4x4 Podcast. This is episode 225, and it's going to be a good one. Joining me outside the studio is the Micro Machine Forest. Forest, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Greg. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic as well. Thanks for asking. Have you been up to anything fun and exciting lately, Forrest?
Well, you know, I got to say I'm glad to be here since we don't have our counterpart to say it this week.
That's true. Jeff is not here at the moment. Hopefully he'll be joining in a little bit later, but possibly not. So it's kind of, we're playing it by ear, whether he'll make it in or not. You know, he's always out in the shop doing things and trying to get stuff buttoned up and, preparing for our next great adventure and all that great stuff. And so hopefully he'll be in later, but I'm glad, Forrest, that you're glad to be here. I'm glad that you're here because I hate doing shows by myself.
Yeah, shows by yourself are, they're quite the challenge because you are trying to fill space and you have nothing coming back at you. And it's just all you and your own mind.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt. So speaking of being out by yourself and all that fun stuff, I've been looking a lot at camping gear lately. And, Jeff and I went on that fun Silver State expedition, which we recapped the last episode in episode 224. If you guys haven't checked it out, I encourage you to go listen to it. It was a pretty fun, wild trip and had a fun ending to it. But in the grand scheme of things, Forrest, it's made me want to upgrade my camping gear and equipment. And, I wasn't really into the overland movement. I didn't think it was that kind of like, it's cool and everything. I get it. But it was more of like, let's see how much money we can spend to pretend to be homeless, kind of thing, but with a vehicle. And I know that's the bad attitude to have. And I'm going to get lots of hate mail for that on the overland guys. But I have to say this last Silver State expedition that we went on could have potentially been a game changer for me, and my mind may have changed in terms of wanting to upgrade my camping gear. And I've started looking into overland trailers because it kind of went into, we need a better tent. We need a 4-season tent when we go camping, and then it was what's that?
I was just going to say, who's going to replace the tent? Jeff, you've kind of relied on Jeff for the last, 10 years with the old fortress that he always took along.
Yes, the Taj Mahal, it's recalled it. But I have relied on him a lot. And that's the funny thing is because he's always been the guy that provides the tent when we go camping. And I've got backup tents, but they're backpacking tents. So they're not super comfortable. I can't really stand up and change in them by any means. I have to lay on my, flat on my back to be able to do anything. And so I've started looking into these canvas tents and stuff because I was with the snow that hit us and everything, I was man, I'd love to have a stove inside there and have a thicker walled tent that, would just be kind of nice to have. And it was I started looking at them $400 or $500 tents, and I was man, that's a lot of money, just for a tent. So then I was well, maybe I could jump over to a rooftop tent and then build a trailer and have more gear that come with me, because I'm if I have a canvas tent, I'm going to want a cot and all this other stuff. And it was this total snowball effect, right there on the internet happening to me as I was shopping around and looking and researching on gear. And it was oh man, I can't afford this. So then it kind of came back down to a decent off-road, overland style trailer with a rooftop tent and all that, all the goodies that goes with it. It's you're talking $7,000 almost, just kind of starting. And it was yeah, I think just having a nice canvas tent and a cot would be maybe a better starting point for me. And I'd be at thousands ahead unless I decide to build, my own trailer at some point.
Yeah, it is a big investment. Coming from riding motorcycles and quads and camping at the beach, I kind of have all the gear set up for doing that kind of camping, which I have an overhead camper for my truck, and I tow everything behind that, and I have outdoor shower and all the amenities to take care of myself for a long stay on the beach or even out in the woods or somewhere like that. But I got more into rock crawling, and I've had to reteach myself how to camp basically, because it is just a completely different style of situation because, you need something almost like hiking where you can pack it up quick, load it into a small space, and be on the move with it. You don't want something big and bulky and heavy. But overlanding fits more of that style like I was doing before with camping on the beach, where you take everything with you and you're staying extended stays in one location, basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's kind of like when on our overland trip to Nevada was like we set up kind of a base camp. And I've been doing these trips for a few times. It was like, I think it was almost like my 12th trip to Nevada, if I did the math right. But, and I've honestly never stayed in my own tent in all those trips. And so it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it is time for me to upgrade, and get a nice, tent or whatever, but maybe, or I'll just talk Jeff into buying it and we'll be done with that.
Yeah, if you had your own tent, you might actually be able to talk your wife into going.
I know. Well, see, and that's kind of where I started kind of pushing myself to spend the money on a nice, like, quality tent, because you're right. Like, if it felt like a little home away from home, she would totally enjoy it. And, like, because people are asking me on the trip, like, oh, what do you take when you go camping? Do you cook or anything? And I'm, like, super basic. Like, I try to pack food that doesn't need to be cooked. I don't do like a nice eggs and bacon breakfast or, sausages or anything like that. Or I don't do like tri-tips at night or anything or steaks. And I'm like super like whatever, I can just make on the fly that doesn't have to be cooked or, I can eat it right then and there. And I'm like that I'm missing out on a lot of the aspects of camping and like being out in the middle of nowhere and stuff. But like you said, it's like lugging all that gear out there. You almost have to stay for like 3-4 days minimum just to like all the time it takes to set up, pack everything up, set it all up, unpack it all, to just then tear it down, pack it back up and go home with it and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see.
It definitely makes it more enjoyable for the amount of work it takes to go if you're staying an extended time. 1 or 2 nights is a little short. I prefer 3 nights or more.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, it's all about the money, I think, realistically. But I think I could start piecing, gear together now and stuff and spending, a little bit here and there. But, man, the problem is you get into those, like, canvas tents and, like, the size of them and the weight. They're, like, 85-pound tents, that, like, are, almost 4 feet long. And I'm like, where am I supposed to fit that in the Jeep? And so it's like that's what pushed me to, like, maybe I need a trailer. And then I don't know. Would you rather? The funny thing to me, though, is those rooftop tents are fairly expensive. Like you kind of got to spend at least $1,000 to get into a rooftop tent. And I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, compared to like those $500 canvas tents I was looking at, like, the canvas tent's way more spacey. It's a camp cabin style, family cabin style tent. And it's like way more, space and stuff compared to the price of what a rooftop tent is. But I get the nice like rooftop tents, you just unfold them and they literally like pop up on their own and they're like ready to go right then and there. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely, they are pricey, and being as big as you and Jeff are, you got to get one that is weight rated for you guys as well as, when you lay down on the top of your Jeep, your feet are going to hang over the end basically. So,
yeah.
So it does get pricey, and the canvas ones, canvas pop-up tent is a really nice choice, but you do have to make it to where you are camping in one location for a few days.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, too, is I don't think I'd mount it on the top of my Jeep by any means, just because, during the day, it was nice to have a base camp where everything stayed, and then we could take the vehicles, and drive off and go exploring and do all that, and it's like, it'd be kind of a bummer if it was on top of the rig and I'd have to like pack up my tent so I could be able to go out and explore, almost to me kind of defeats the purpose of having a base camp, to where we could make it home for the weekend. And that was what was nice about this last trip, just like I said, not because the previous year we did the overland trip, it was like every day we were at a new location to camp. And that's what kind of got, I think on people's nerves was tearing down, setting up, and trying to do all the sightseeing. So I think if I ever did a rooftop tent, it would be on top of a trailer, or some fashion like that, or maybe a removable rack that I could take off the Jeep and set on the ground or something and have the tent set up that way. And then I'd have the option to leave it on the Jeep or not. But plus I like taking the top off the Jeep, like on your Samurai, right?
Yeah, it's, that's the whole point of having these kind of vehicles, is pulling the top off and being out in nature. It's as close to being on a motorcycle, basically, other than you're on four wheels and don't have to keep it upright. Well, I guess you're supposed to keep Jeeps upright too, but
yes,
you get that open cockpit feeling, and it's a great thing to experience.
Absolutely. So right on. Well, also on our overland trip, we had some CB communication issues that we talked about. And, what's fun is we've got a fun topic today to rectify the situation and really dive into. A lot of our listeners have been asking about alternate ways of communication outside the CB. And we have a very special guest that's going to be coming on the show in the main topic. And I'm looking really forward and excited to this episode because I think it's going to be super informative. We are having Greg coming on from Rugged Radios at ruggedradios.com. And he's going to be coming on and sharing and talking to us about alternate communication devices outside of the CB. So this should be a fun, exciting episode and hopefully very informative for you guys that have been looking for something or something else outside the CB, something with more capabilities, options, all that great stuff. And so without further ado, I think we should jump over and get into the main topic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another wonderful podcast here at High Sierra 4x4. We have a special guest joining us today. I'm super excited to have this interview, but we have Greg from Rugged Radios, ruggedradios.com. Greg, how are you today?
Hey, I'm great today. I'm glad to be part of the show.
Excellent. So, Greg, tell us a little bit about yourself, and are you into off-roading also?
I am into off-roading. I have been born and bred into off-road. You know what? It probably doesn't get more off-road than me. I started off, I grew up in a motorcycle dealership. So my parents had the number one Kawasaki dealership for 25 years. So about the age of 4, I started riding a motorcycle. By the age of 6, I was driving a dune buggy. You name it, I've driven it, I've ridden in it, I've done it all. Nice. And from racing jet skis, motorcycles, off-road cars, there probably isn't anything in off-road that I haven't done. In fact, the only thing I haven't done is I haven't driven a rally car. And I got invited to come up to the rally school and do some rally driving, and I think I'm going to do that this year.
That's awesome. I'm a big fan of Subarus myself and always wanted to get into rallying, so that sounds super exciting. So what was the first off-road vehicle that you've ever owned?
The first off-road vehicle, the first off-road vehicle I've ever driven was my dad built a dune buggy. He took a old Datsun pickup truck that was rolled over and made it into a front-engine 4-seat dune buggy. And you know what? I think I know where that buggy's at today, and I want to go find it and buy it back.
That's awesome.
And that goes back, I think I was about 6 years old when I started driving. And then it just took off from there. I had a high jumper dune buggy. I've had multiple sand rails and sand drag cars and off-road cars. That's the thing that's fun about off-road is the diversity and the diversity of vehicles that I had. And now the older I get, I'm reliving my childhood by bringing back some of those old cars and some of those old vehicles and first motorcycles and trikes and different things.
Nice. No, I get that. Also, but so tell us, how did you kind of transition and start working with Rugged Radios?
I started Rugged Radios in September 2005. So we're going on quite a few years here now. But that's not where I started. I started back in 1969. My parents started a motorcycle dealership, which ended up being Kavina Kawasaki that we had. Well, my parents sold that dealership. When they sold that dealership, my parents were supposed to retire at the time. Then we had a friend of ours come to us with the concept of building some aviation headsets. So my parents and I decided, this is interesting. Let's take a look at it and let's see if we can do something. We had the building, we had the infrastructure, we had everything. So let's start an aviation company. My dad wasn't a pilot, but he was part owners in an aircraft. I had been up at a young age and started doing a lot of aerobatic flying. I never got my pilot's license, but I did a lot of flying in it. So we decided, let's see what we can do with this. So we started a company called Avcom. And Avcom was a start. This started in 1991. So Avcom started off as an aviation business. We became one of the second largest aviation headset manufacturer in the world. But in 1992, I decided my love was off-road. And I've always been in the off-road industry. There really wasn't anything for communication in the off-road industry. I wanted a really cool intercom system. I just wanted more. So I developed the first buggy intercom. It was a 4-seat Vox operation intercom. You know what? It was so cool. The first one I developed, when you speak, it could mute the music to background. It was all voice activated. I'll never forget the first time putting it in my car and testing it. I went over and my dad and I were out in Glamis. We had both of our buggies out. It was at night. My dad said, he got on the radio and said, "Where are you at?" And at the time, I was just using these little Motorola talkabouts plugged into the intercom system. And he got on the radio and said, "Where are you at? I can't find you." I flashed my lights, and he drove straight to me. I knew right then, hey, this thing's going to be big, and I have a big future in it. Well, that's where it all started. Then I started mass producing all the intercom systems. I developed all the cables. My role in the company, I was head of sales and all of product development. So all the concepts, the designs, everything that we did, that's what I did. And I just started designing all these cables, all these connections that we had, push-to-talks that go on the steering wheel, even all the helmet kits go in there. So I designed and developed a full product line. Well, Avcom went over. We became the person that we supplied everyone. If you were a dealer, you were in the industry, you were in the off-road, people don't even know. I was the guy who designed and developed everything that's out there today. Well, after a while with that company, my parents decided they wanted to sell the company and move on. So my parents sold the company off. The new owners that owned it, they were bankers, big banking. Well, they came into that business. I worked for them for a few months, and I decided that I want to start a radio company. I want to start Rugged Radio. And you know what? So I left that company. Well, shortly after that company, like a lot of businesses that people buy businesses, they really don't know what they're doing. They ran the company into the ground, unfortunately. And Rugged Radios, I was selling radios at the time. I started manufacturing a few more products. As the decline of that company, well, the factory that I set up in 1991, I set up, trained the people. I took that factory back over. And now Rugged Radios is here. And we manufacture all of our products. I still concept, design, develop. When you see our cables, you see our intercom system. That is all of our own manufacturing. So when you come to Rugged, you truly are dealing with the manufacturer. And that's kind of a nutshell how we started. So I've been here a long time. It started back in 1991, and we're going stronger than ever today.
Nice. No, that's awesome. I had no idea that you had that much kind of history with this radio technology. So could you maybe, since you're so well diverse in it, could you maybe describe a little bit about the technology in the radios and how they're kind of different than like what you would typically see with like a CB radio?
It's really cool. So we talked about the intercom systems, helmet kits, and all the cabling around it. Rugged Radios, when we started manufacturing radios in the beginning, I started my own radios. I was a Vertex dealer. I was a number one Vertex dealer in the country. And then we wanted to step up our game. I was looking to see what was out there. And some of the things I wasn't happy with, I wanted performance. I wanted low amp draw. Well, some of the technology that we put into our new products, for instance, our new RM60, that is one of our hottest mobile 60-watt radios. What makes that so good is the technology we put in the board. We are transmitting at a higher power at less amps. So the beauty about it is some of these other radios, they had so much amp draw. So say, for instance, a UTV. UTVs couldn't support, the charging system couldn't support some of these big amp draws. So I wanted to develop something that had low amp draw, had high power, and high efficiency. And that's what it started. Our RM60 is it. So we started with that radio in the UTV market, and it has just taken off like crazy. Then I wanted to say, we're looking at the Jeep market. We're looking at all these other the diverse industry that we're in right now. And there's the CB radio. I always wanted to take a CB radio. I wanted to combine things together because I've made multiple radio interfaces. So you could take and have your CB, have your UHF, VHF radios, and combine all of them into one intercom system. But I wanted to take it a step further. Why couldn't we combine everything into one radio? Our RM50 MB multiband radio, that's exactly what it does. It combines everything together. So now technology, now you have one piece, one thing that you mount. You can listen and talk on your CB radio. You can switch over to your VHF race channels. The beauty about it is this, you even have AM/FM radio in it. It doesn't transmit on AM/FM radio, but you can listen to AM/FM radio because when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you can get information on AM or FM. And that's what's exciting about this radio. And all the other features. I took a look at mounting. So you have a Jeep. I have a 2012 JK that's all fixed up and all done. And, where am I going to mount this thing? Because I want something that looks like a factory installed piece. You know what? We came up with the coolest install kit for a JK. The beauty about this radio, it's a remote head. It's got a nice little tiny remote head that you can mount. Comes with a 16-foot cable. So you mount the brain box underneath the seat. You put the tiny remote head up on the dash. Clean, looks sharp, easy to mount, easy to run to power. It just makes the JK just so simple and clean. And I think that's what the Jeep owner is looking for. Combine everything together and looks cool in the Jeep.
No, I agree completely, being a JK owner myself and, having the opportunity to run your guys' radios while we were out in Moab at Easter Jeep Safari. I have to be honest, Greg, I was a little skeptical at first. I was like, the CB kind of fits the bill, I'm not, that interested in maybe progressing over to the rugged radios. But then after trying the rugged radios and being on some of the trail runs where the guides were using rugged radios over the CBs, it was like a jump into the future and realizing like, wow, there really is, the market there is there for it. The technology, the quality is so much better than a CB. The downside though, as I was sitting in Moab, I was like, man, I have my CB radio here and a race radio. Like, yeah, why aren't these two combined? And then you guys, you just launched that combined radio, correct?
We did. We just launched that radio, and wow, has it taken off by storm. And, and that's the thing we listen to. For years, I had everybody talk to me about, well, I've got my CB radio, because that's kind of the Jeep thing. And, I looked at a CB radio is only 4 watts. It's only going to go so far. Another thing, too, with a CB radio is the band that it's in. It's absolutely critical that the antenna is tuned perfect. If it is not, it's not going to have any range, even though you have limited range. It's going to have less than limited range. That's where when you move up into the VHF channels, you're in a higher frequency range. We can get better antennas, non-ground plane antennas. We can tune the antennas, and you're dealing with a lot more power. So in the VHF realm of things, you can have 50 watts. So the beauty about it is you're going to have so much more power than a CB. But you still have the guys that, hey, you got the guys that when you're cruising around your Jeep, you might want to listen to a CB radio, that CB that the truckers are talking on. But you know what I said? I said, you know what? When I go out four-wheeling, I'm all about safety, and I'm all about, what if something happened? What I wanted to do is I wanted to make a radio that had as many tools in the toolbox as possible. What I mean with that, hey, you're talking on your high-powered VHF side. Say there's an issue, there's a problem, there's an emergency. Well, you know what? VHF, not everybody's monitoring a VHF channel. because it's programmed to, certain channels. And there isn't, like a worldwide monitoring of a particular frequency. So I wanted to have something that, of course, your CB. A lot of times with CB, you might be able to reach somebody that's listening to a CB channel. So that way, with this particular radio, you can go from VHF, switch over to the CB side of things, and try and reach somebody if you need help. And that's one of the big reasons why I did this. Another thing, too, it gives people a chance as a transition. Because now you have one Jeep in the group that has a radio that he can talk to both CB and his VHF guys. Once he shows everybody how much more distance he's getting on the VHF side, the guys with just the CB radio, they're going to follow. And that's why we came out with the multiband.
Yeah, no doubt. Even everybody that we've had a chance to show our radios to, they're jumping on board too. And it's funny because, like you said, I think the CB guys will definitely be following over. So can you talk a little bit about, you've mentioned the watt and the distance, as far as like, the range of a CB is kind of limited and the tuning of the antenna. But when you jump over to the race radio, we don't have to worry about the tuning or anything like that. But do all the radios have kind of the same distance? Is it, do I have to be able to see the person to be able to communicate with them, or can I get to them on the other side of the mountain?
Well, that's the thing. Of course, line of sight is always your best. One thing about the VHF radios, we kind of pre-tune the antenna. Most of our VHF radios, I use a special-made half-wave, no ground plane antenna, and that's really important because like on a Jeep, when you're mounting an antenna on a Jeep, normally an antenna was made for a big flat metal roof. Well, what Jeep has a big flat metal roof? It just doesn't. So we use a half-wave, no ground plane antenna that works off of a tab, works off of just about anywhere you want to mount it. It works. We pre-tune it for a set frequency range. Of course, if you're using one dedicated channel all the time, then what we might do is we can tune that antenna exactly for that channel for optimizing. So like for the race cars, Baja 1000, Ultra 4, Best in the Desert. What we'll do is a lot of times with those guys, we'll take a race team and we tune that antenna exactly for that channel. That way you have the most amount of output. Because we use something called an SWR meter. That meter shows you how much output and how much wattage back into the radio. So you might test something and you might have 50 watts out, but all of a sudden you have 20 watts coming back. That's not good. We want to have the most amount of output with the least amount of backwards wattage in it. And that's what we do. And like a CB, it's so critical for you to, tune that antenna so perfectly to get an extra 100 yards, a short distance, a half mile. It's so critical. The VHF, because you have so much more power, it's not as critical on that. But, of course, line of sight. It takes power to get over the mountaintop. But then, say, for instance, if you just get on a high point, shoot, a 50-watt radio, that thing on a mountaintop could transmit 50-plus miles. It can go a long ways. So it's all about the obstruction which in between you. But generally, when you're in these Jeeps, you're not more than a couple miles apart. So you could be in canyons 5 miles apart and still be talking to each other because you got the power to get out of the canyon and go to the next one.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. That's one of the big things that I really look forward to is because I know, like my brother, when we're out wheeling together, he is throttle happy. He is long gone. And then I'm kind of stuck behind, going slow and kind of doing the crawling thing. And then all of a sudden I get stuck and need assistance and our CBs are out of range from each other. And that's where these rugged radios have really helped out for us. But so, going to your site, which I know we mentioned earlier is ruggedradios.com, there's a lot of options on there. Like you talked about all the different wattages. You've got a lot of different radio headsets and units. What do you typically sell to the off-road Jeeper like ourselves?
The off-road Jeeper to yourself, it all starts with the radio. So a couple things that we do. A lot of times with the Jeeps, when we go on the group, say you're going on the Rubicon and you're in a group, we outfit everybody with our rugged RH5R 5-watt handheld radio. It's a little tiny blue radio. We have a little mount for it that you can mount it right on the dash. Those things work fantastic Jeep to Jeep. Now it's 5 watts, so you are limited on how much range you're going to have, but still, it'll go a couple miles. It works really well. When you consider your CB radio is 4 watts, this is a 5-watt handheld, it's even more powerful than any CB. And so we start off with the radio. So you can put a handheld in it. If you need more power, you want further distance, then you can transition to, we have 25-watt radios. We have, of course, the multi-band, then we have our 60-watt radios. We even have 100 and 110-watt radios. Most of the time in the Jeeps, you just don't need a 110-watt radio. It's just not there. So that's why, like, we sell so many 5 watts, because they're really affordable. You stick them in the car and off you run. And also what it does is, once you try one of these, everybody says, man, that works so good. I wonder what a 25 or a 50 will do. Then they'll transition into the 50. So for your Jeep guys, what I do in my Jeep, I've got the multi-band radio in it, but then I've also got a handheld. Because you know what? When I go on the Rubicon, I have my passenger get out and spot me through an obstacle. Well, then they grab the handheld and they can talk me right through. And that's the great thing about it. It makes it safer on the trail. It makes it easier on the trail. And just what you said, hey, your brother is kind of throttle happy and he takes off. Well, you know, when he gets to the Y at the, you know, the fork on the road or the Y, he can tell you, did he go right or did he go left? And when you have a lot of power and range like that, you can just simply hit the push to talk, tell the rest of your group which way to go so you don't get lost anymore. Or if one person gets stuck, hold on a second, we're stuck, I need some help back here. That's why I just can't believe people haven't been using radios all these years.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny because one of the things too I noticed using, we use the RH5R like you mentioned a lot in Moab, and same thing, using it for spotting, you know, going down the ledges and everything like that. And I noticed that it has the ability to switch back and forth really fast between 2 different channels, which is a really cool feature.
You know what? That's really neat. You know, that 5R radio is really powerful radio, and it has a ton of features to it. I couldn't even begin to explain all of them. But you know what? The one thing that you point out is with the dual screen. What's neat about that dual screen, you can even program it dual screen. You can program it dual watch. So you can be monitoring 2 channels at once. So say if you had 2 different groups, or like we do a lot of events and we do a lot of things to where, you know, that, okay, you have the organization running the event and then you have all the Jeepers that are going through the event. So what we might do is put the organization on one channel and then we have all the Jeeps on the other channel. So you can monitor both channels. You can even set that radio so whichever channel comes in, you have so many seconds to key the push to talk and talk back on that particular channel that came in. So that way you don't have to, you know, flip it to A or B selection and go to one or the other. So there's so many things you can do. And the beauty about what we do, we're all about teaching everybody. So our entire staff is completely trained on everything. So we invite people to give us a call, talk to us. We're more than willing to help and teach you everything to know about our product and how it works.
Nice. No, we really appreciate that. I mean, that's what's important is when you're you know, get a new product, especially something that has technology that you've never really used before, you know, to have the ability to just make a phone call and have the staff there that's, you know, educated and willing to share the information with you. I also noticed on your website, you have a ton of YouTube videos explaining kind of a lot of what we're even talking about on your page at ruggedradios.com.
You know what? I love filming these videos. I love giving information to the people, because what we want to try and do is this. We want to give the most amount of information so they can make an informed decision. And that's the thing. I have so many people when I go up to the events and say, hey, I've watched every one of your videos. I get people that come up and say, thank you. You showed me how to tune my own antenna. Because we're not about having you pay us to do that. What we do is this. We're all about teaching. Hey, let me show you how to program a radio. Let me show you how to tune an antenna. Let me do this. I'd rather not charge for labor and not charge for those things. I don't want to do it. I want to show everybody how to do it. And then what's exciting for me is I have a guy in the group that says, I gave him a programming cable. He went over and said, man, I reprogrammed everybody's radio in our group and I handled it all for everybody. That's really exciting for me, because before you have companies that you have to send in your radios. They're going to charge you to do it. and it's difficult and takes time and it's expensive. We sell a lot of products here, and that it also comes along with our service. So Rugged Radios, we're not just about selling products, we're about helping the industry also. And that's what's exciting. We talked about an informed staff that, I'm up training people all the time. All of our staff watches our videos, and we have a lot more videos to come because all these new products, we've got to explain more. And that's what's exciting about what we do.
Nice. Well, so for any of our listeners that are interested in maybe, dipping their feet into these rugged radios, what's an average kind of simple radio kit cost for someone?
Well, your most affordable thing to get into, of course, is our little 5R radio. That's about $85. Then you can transition to our mobile radios. Kits start about $200 and they go up to about $599. So it really depends on the package. But the beauty about it is we cover all areas. We have something that's very affordable to start off in. Then you can get something later on that's a nice addition. So I tell everybody in the beginning, hey, get a 5R radio. You can't go wrong. Because what it does, they will go through, use that radio, absolutely love it, and then come back and say, hey, I'm ready for that mobile radio. Now the 5R becomes a spotter radio. So the beauty about it is we like to sell products that you can transition and still use. Like I hate things that you buy, then the next 2 weeks you can't use it anymore because something new comes out and it doesn't, adapt to each other. Everything we do adapts together. It's just like our intercom systems we make. I've been wiring the same exact pinout of wiring since 1991. I kind of made a universal industry standard, and I love to keep it that way. So even if you have an older rugged product, everything new will adapt to it. So we're all about keeping the same old wiring and improving the products and making everything work together. So whether it's older or whether it's newer, it all seamlessly works.
Nice. That's cool. And I know you guys have, you reach out to a lot of different off-road vehicle types like motorcycle, snowmobile, and ATVs as well. Do you have radio kits for all those different kind of activities?
We do. And that's what really makes the company interesting. So when you look at the diverse products we have, so we have everything for a buggy, everything for a Jeep. You're riding a motorcycle, we got a great kit. We got a snowmobile kit. Just riding an ATV, we can now put these waterproof 25-watt radios right on an ATV. And we're doing a lot of that for forestry right now. But then we manufacture all kinds of products. We even manufacture fire truck intercom systems. I've been doing that forever. We manufacture a ton of aviation headsets. I've developed a product line that can shift and move any direction. So we've got these guys doing directional boring. We outfit them with intercom systems. We do power plants with this hardwired headset-to-headset communication system because they're dealing in harsh environments. They're dealing with gases. They're dealing with something that can't put off any electrical currents. So we build a ton of different items. So you know what the exciting thing is? We get people that call us all the time and say, hey, you know what? I've got this application that I'm doing this. I had a movie producer call me, and they needed to outfit a movie car for filming, and they needed a special intercom that would do these special configuration and multiple radios and different things. And I said, I can do that. They said, well, what's it going to take? Well, it's off the shelf. When would you like it? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I make all these different cables and all these different parts. I've got so much inventory here that no matter who or what calls me, I can outfit a system for them. It's very rare that I have to say no. And that's what's great about what we've done, because I've been refining and building our company brand and our product line. We have thousands of SKUs. So all these different connectors, adapters to do about everything. So that's why I say, hey, bring it on. Give us a call. You have a specialty application, I'm all in. From airboats to, like we said, aviation to fire trucks, you name it, we do it.
Nice. How about NASCAR?
We do a lot of NASCAR equipment. We sponsor Bobby Gerhart, most winning Daytona 500 driver ever. If you look, you'll see a big giant rugged logos on it. He is a super guy. NASCAR, I've been doing NASCAR a long time. I developed the first universal car harnesses for NASCAR, back in 1992. It's been a long time. NASCAR brought me in years ago when scanners were big. So when you went to the races, you'd listen on your scanner, you'd wear a headset and listen to the drivers talk to the pit crew. NASCAR brought me in. I manufactured hundreds of thousands of listen-only headsets. I even have a double talk intercom system. So when you're sitting in the seat, somebody, your wife's next to you, my son's next to me, I can put a headset on and we have a linkable intercom system. And you can link 1, 2, up to 15 people together and all talk on it. And so, yeah, I've been doing NASCAR a long time, and we still do a lot of NASCAR equipment, a lot of circle track. Even our little Nitro B scanner is the official little race receiver of USAC, of torque, of just about every sanctioning body out there. And, yeah, we're really strong at it. We don't necessarily market so much in that product. You don't see our mainstream marketing in the NASCAR side because our following is so big already. But that's why you see we market heavy the off-road side of things, but there's a lot more to this company than people think.
Yeah, I bet. My mind could only go wild on how many different areas, in places people could use use radios like police cars, tree trimming services, security guards. There's tons of different market applications, I'm sure, for you guys.
Absolutely. Even our local wineries. We're in beautiful Pismo Beach, California. And, we are in the wine capital around here. We have all the wineries come in and get base station radios and handheld radios from us. So we even deal with the local prison system. All the highway patrol and police officers come in because I make these cool little earpieces that go in your ear and plug into the hand mic. So it's funny that that's just a little industry that a couple of friends of mine were police officers, and they said, you know what, I need a good earpiece, and there's no place to buy one. And I said, well, shoot, I can make that. So I started making them, and word of mouth took off like crazy, so we supply everybody here now.
Nice. That's cool. So, hey, Greg, if people want to check out your stuff, besides obviously going to your website, ruggedradios.com, you guys travel around and are going to a bunch of different shows. What are some shows that people might be able to see you guys at?
Rugged Radios is everywhere, and people tell us that all the time, and we truly are everywhere. We do 82 events a year, and that is absolutely crazy. Out where you're at, we're going to have some fun events come up out there. We're going to be in Kentucky, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Of course, we're out here in California, Arizona, Nevada, Texas. We're up in the Oregon Dunes for Dune Fest. But you know what? I can't wait for the Kentucky Off-Road Expo. That thing's coming up shortly. I love that event. I love Kentucky. I love Tennessee. We did a bunch of filming last year and rides, and just to get to go out in those areas. But definitely, we do so many events. Go onto our website and check out, where we're going to be. We're trying to give the people an opportunity to come up and meet us, see the products, touch and feel the products, and do that. So that's going to take a lot of road work. And we're adding more and more events all the time. So definitely, out on this coast, we're going to be at Off-Road Expo. We're going to be at Sandsport Show. Off-Road Expo, in Pomona, California, that is an absolutely great off-road event. So I encourage everybody, if you can, come out, check us out, fly in, see the show. You won't regret it.
Absolutely. I've been to that show many times, and I do love it. And I've seen you guys even at a few Ultra 4 events as well.
Yeah, just about all the Ultra 4 events. King of the Hammers. Dave Cole, he's done an amazing job. King of the Hammers, what an event. He puts on a great event. I can't thank him enough for doing what he's doing out there for this sport and industry. And, man, King of the Hammers, it's awesome. I think this weekend we're going to be at NorCal Rock Racing, which will be an Ultra 4 Bora race. That's going on this weekend. So Ultra 4 schedule. Torque schedule, Crandon, Wisconsin. Man, that is one facility that's really cool and packs the people in. They're a great event. We have a trailer that's full-time back there now. In Jeeping in Utah, we have a trailer full-time in Utah that's hitting all the Utah events. So we are kind of all over the place. And but that's what's exciting about what we do. It definitely keeps us busy. I know my wife probably would like me to travel a little bit less, but we are definitely having fun.
No doubt. I'm sure you are. So if other people want to check you out, maybe they can't make a show or an event, like we said, visit your website, ruggedradios.com. I know you guys are on Instagram. I think it's at Rugged Radios, as well as YouTube, youtube.com/user/Rugged Radios, and Facebook.com/Rugged Radios. So Greg, we just want to say we really appreciate what you guys are doing at Rugged Radios. You guys make an awesome product. Like I said, I was skeptical at first, and I am the first one to put my foot in my mouth and say that, I need to eat my words and that these radios are awesome. And Jeff and I both and Forrest are going to be switching over and using the Rugged Radios from now on forward. And so for any listeners out there, you guys better jump on the bandwagon and check out the Rugged Radios.
Well, absolutely. Go online, check us out. And you know what? We appreciate things like what you're doing. You know what? I have seen the industry change so much. Having the ability to have media like this, and you guys go out and use our product and call us up and, hey, we want to talk to you more about it because we love it. I mean, this is amazing. It's just amazing where the world is evolving to in media and coverage, because now people can get so much more information that they could. And that's why I say check us out online. We're heavy on social media. We've got a great website, ruggedradios.com. Come to an event. Look us up and see what events are going to come out and meet us. A lot of events I go to, I invite people to come up and meet me, talk to me. You know what? I am considered probably one of the world experts when it comes to communications because I've been doing it so long in manufacturing that I love it. Come up and talk to me, because you know what also helps me do? It helps me about people kind of giving me their wish list. Hey, I love this product, but I wish I had this feature or that feature. And you know what? That's why I develop everything that we do. So come up and talk to me. I love to meet our clientele and our customers and be part of this industry. So great. Check us out. We're here for everybody, or give us a call. My entire staff is completely trained and just 100% about knowledge and customer service. And that's why, work, race, play, we're the authority in communications, because we absolutely love this industry.
Perfect. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge with us.
All right. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, welcome back, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Greg from Rugged Radios, ruggedradios.com. He's a really cool guy. Tons of information shared on the show. You guys should be sharing this episode with any of your friends that might be interested, looking into the Rugged Radios and just all the different options that they have. Make sure you go check them out, ruggedradios.com. Give them love. Let them know that you are thankful that they are here and working with us and willing to come on the show and share their information of all the different products they have. Really cool radios. I mean, we had a blast using them in Moab. They were flawless. And honestly, I was kind of skeptical at first. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm happy with my CB. It seems to work well, but it was like I had no idea what I was missing out on, and switching over to the Rugged Radios has been awesome. So, Forrest, when you get up here, we'll have a chance for you to play with them and hopefully get your hands on them, and hopefully you get to take one home when you get up here as well.
Yeah, I'd be excited about that. I love different radios, and getting my hands on these is something I've been wanting to do for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so nice just to have the radio, like at Moab, where you could literally spot somebody and you could sit outside the car with just the handheld unit, their RH, I think it's -5Rs, their little handheld unit. It was be able just to talk to the person, while they're in the Jeep, and they don't, they're just listening and you're just talking and spotting them. And it was it was almost like people thought, oh, they drove that perfectly, and had no clue that, Jeff was sitting around the corner there spotting them down it and stuff. And so, I don't know, it's just kind of nice to be able to have that. So, like I said, check it out. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to obviously contact Rugged Radios if you have more questions for them. But if you have anything for us, feel free to email us podcast@HighSierra4x4.com. But with that, we also have some events and happenings coming up. We have our Signal Peak Night Run by Sierra, sponsored by Sierra LED, as well as GetFlex4x4.com. That'll be happening June 17th up at Cisco Grove Campground off of Highway 80. We will be starting at 5 o'clock. We'll do a $5 trail run, and then at 7 o'clock, we will gather and get ready for the Signal Peak Run. And we'll have 2 different ways to go, the easy way and the hard way. All that we ask is that if you're going the hard way, that you have 35s and lockers or traction devices to be able to get up the hill and not cause any problems or slow the group down. We don't want anybody struggling too much, so we can keep the flow of traffic going. But we also have the Moonlight Madness happening the weekend after that, the Moonlight Madness Poker Run, the weekend of June 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And so that'll be fun. Got the whole month of June filled up for you guys and all your four-wheeling needs. So make sure you come out, say hi to us at any of those events, and we look forward to seeing you there. So with that being said, don't forget to check out our show sponsor, Northridge4x4.com. Use our coupon code HighSierra, the number 4X4 in all capitalized letters, no spaces, and that'll save you up to 10% off, plus free shipping on all orders over $70 to the lower 48 states. You can email us questions, comments, snide remarks to podcast at HighSierra4x4.com. You can find this podcast, past, present, future episodes at HighSierra4x4.com or on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting app. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as give us a like or rating, whatever you feel that we deserve. Also, you can find us on Instagram at HS4x4, YouTube, youtube.com/HighSierra4x4 podcast, and on Facebook, facebook.com/HighSierra4x4. And with that being said, my friends, don't forget to head over, check out our website and forum and articles, all that fun stuff over at HighSierra4x4.com. So with that, Forrest, any last words from you?
Did Jeff lose his antenna again?
And with that, my friends, let's go wheeling.